against many other individuals and entities that we will.
It's provably, demonstrably false. This never happened. This 1-800-Lawyers doing?
2004 Thursday, Jay-Z's motion was denied. Is Tony Buzbee lying? Is Jay-Z innocent?
We now represent a.
Hello, you guys. This is Politic Graham. Thank you for coming in. If you can hear me, please press 1 in the chat. Shout out to quote unquote Daisy. Thank you for coming in, Daisy Freedom Fighter. Also, shout out to Northern Dame. Shout out to Test. Shout out to quote unquote OG Brand, Silly Rabbit, clap, clap. Thank you guys for coming in. Shout out to everyone that has came into the live. Shout out to Crossfame 5. Thank you guys for coming in. Shout out to Art of War. Shout out to the Herbal Goddess. Thank you guys for coming in. Shout out to Melinda. Thank you guys for coming in. Yes, today is the day. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, today is the day we're going to have a conversation about this new motion that was made on Thursday. Yes, you heard right. A motion was made on Thursday in regards to the lawsuit that includes Jay-Z. I repeat, the lawsuit that includes, or should I say they added Jay-Z in the Diddy lawsuit. Okay? Thank you guys for coming in. Northern Dame says, yes, he's innocent. Northern Dame in the comments says, yes, Jay-Z is innocent as far as that woman was on NBC, the 38-year-old. Thank you, the Herbal Goddess. Patriot says, good morning, fellow moms, and good morning to you, Patriot. Thank you so much for coming in. The conversation we're having today, we're going to keep it brief, keep it short, because there was a lot that has transpired, and there will be more coming in very soon. Also, today we're going to talk about Tony Buzbee himself, the attorney that is representing, in his words, quote unquote, 120 clients, quote unquote, 120 clients that have claimed to be victims, to quote unquote Diddy. And as of today, he has filed, he has officially filed civil lawsuits. Out of that 120, he has filed, quote unquote, 20 civil lawsuits against Diddy and one official one against not only Diddy, but as well as Jay-Z. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for coming in. We have to talk about it. And I see these comments coming in. Please hit that like button. Thank you guys for coming in. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you wish, you can donate a super sticker if you wish. Okay? But we have to call it out for what it is, right? Today's live, we're going to talk about Mr. quote unquote Tony Buzbee. There's a lot of things going on in this world we call the Diddy world, the Tony Buzbee world, the Jay-Z world. Yes, everybody is walking around with, do I say it, dirty hands. Everyone is walking around with quote unquote dirty hands, right? Because what we are going to talk about first, the first thing we're going to talk about is the quote unquote motion that was made by Judge quote unquote Torres on Thursday, December the 26th. Yes, there was a quote unquote motion, and it did not take the side. It did not look good for Mr. quote unquote Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z, because the same things that his attorney Alex Sparrow, the same things that Sean Carter's attorney, Alex Sparrow, was pointing fingers at Tony Buzbee for not properly filing the lawsuit, for not properly doing his investigation, is the same reasons that the judge Torres made her decision on Thursday. And thank you guys for coming in. We have to call it for what it is. And in this quote unquote motion, yes, there was a motion that was filed, and it was decided. It was decided on Thursday. What was it? According to, yes, you can see, as you can see, according to the motion, we're going to talk about it a little bit. The Carter's motion to strike the complaint that Tony Buzbee had filed, right? Because in regards to this complaint, Jay-Z's attorney requested that Tony Buzbee's accuser, that 38-year-old lady, she's currently 38 years old, they wanted her to identify herself instead of remaining a Jane Doe, right? But according to the motion was, quote unquote, yes, denied, due to the same reasons that Alex Sparrow pointed his finger at, quote unquote, Tony Buzbee. Because if you guys can remember, Alex Sparrow's argument is his client Jay-Z is not guilty in the reasons of the inconsistencies, for one, of Tony Buzbee's accuser, inconsistency, as well as we have to call it for what it is. Not only the inconsistencies, but according to Alex Sparrow, Tony Buzbee did not properly do a proper investigation, a thorough investigation, to make sure that these accusations supported the allegations against Jay-Z. Now, I want people to understand this. It has been a lot going on. Because the initial lawsuit was filed October the 20th of this year, but it was refiled December the 9th. It was refiled. And when it was refiled, December the 8th, when it was refiled December the 8th, they added Jay-Z's name into the lawsuit. Now, as we discussed before, Tony Buzbee and Jay-Z has been going back and forth, and even so much to the point where Jay-Z's attorney has outright said that he's never been friends with Diddy. It's only been business between him and Diddy. It's never been any more than just business. And according to Jay-Z's attorney, he stated that his client knows nothing about anything outside of business wise. And thank you guys for coming in. We're going to break it down in regards to this motion that was denied on Thursday, December the 26th. Now, when it comes down to Judge Torres, her reason for denying it, going to give just a little bit of the breakdown on it. Her reason specifically, and I quote, she stated that the attorney that is representing Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z, right, has consistently not followed protocol and went against the practices of law in this case alone. Why? Because according to her, what she stated, this attorney had been continuously filing motions and requests without allowing Tony Buzbee the proper time to respond to the request. And the proper time to respond to the request, right, is a minimum of 5 days. But if you guys can understand and know what happened, within less than 5 days, Alex Spiro had not only done a press conference, just like Tony Buzbee did a press conference back in October against talking about the accusations against Diddy, Alex Spiro as well did a press conference in response to the claims or the allegations against his client, Jay-Z. Also, just like Alex Spiro said that, quote unquote, Tony Buzbee did not follow, quote unquote, follow the practices, the Judge Torres, she said Alex Spiro and the firm did not follow proper protocol when it comes down to practices. Now, we're going to break it all the way down just a little bit, because in this live, we're going to talk about what all, not only just lawsuits against Diddy and Jay-Z, but just how many lawsuits does the Tony Buzbee have currently on himself, or should I say against him? Now, when it comes down to this motion on Thursday, it says, since Carter's attorney first appeared in this case 17 days ago, he has submitted letters and motions attempting to kick out this case. Many of them have been of urgency. And also, Sean Carter's attorney, Jay-Z's attorney, Alex Spiro, has relentless did filing of combative motions containing inflammatory language. This is all according to what the judge is saying. Inflammatory language and attacks is inappropriate. This is what she said. Because of these filings of motions, she decided that it was inappropriate and a waste of judicial resources and a tactic unlikely to benefit his client. And also, she stated the court will not fast track the judicial process because of the counsel demands. Now, when she stated this, she's basically stating there's a thing called practice protocol. You can't just get what you want when you want it. If you do not agree with what Tony Buzbee has filed in motion, then you have to follow steps. But according to her, Alex Spiro had not followed, quote unquote, steps. Right? And one of those steps, he did not file a, quote unquote, pre-motion letter that is required prior to filing any motion. And also, he's supposed to wait. Like I said, here it comes. He did not give the plaintiff, Tony Buzbee, and his accused, he did not give plaintiff the requested 5 business days to respond. And lastly but not least, although Jay-Z's attorney is entitled to file a rule motion without first seeking leave of court, the court discourages this approach. If he still intends to serve the plaintiff with a motion, the court denies his request to shorten the safe harbor provision. Now, when it comes down to this motion, Basically, long story short, this judge has said all of what Jay-Z's attorney, Alex Spiro, has done has been a waste of time. A pure waste of time. Just like he stated in his press conference that he did, just like he stated, this all is a waste of time that Tony Buzbee is doing. She's stating, based off of the way he has been moving when filing motions, has not been in accordance with filing under law practice. And because of that, she has denied Alex Spiro's request for Tony Buzbee to identify who this accuser is, this 38-year-old accuser. And in addition to that motion, she did state that Tony Buzbee himself has until January the 10th, okay, to file a response, his client's response to Carter's, aka Jay-Z's motion, right? So basically, this is not over with. This case is not over with. Jay-Z thought it was over with, but it's not over with, because according to this motion that was filed last Thursday, December the 26th, and thank you guys for coming in. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Because of what's all been going on, she has denied Jay-Z's request. And in response to Jay-Z's attorney stating that this is false accusation, she has given Tony Buzbee's client, the 38-year-old accuser, until January the 10th to respond to Jay-Z's motion. And last but not least, once this accuser files a response to Jay-Z's motion, Jay-Z himself has until January the 17th to reply. So all of this tic-tac, it has not gotten anywhere. It has not gotten anywhere. Because remember, according to Jay-Z's attorney, Alex Spiro, he thought that based upon all of the evidence that he has presented in interviews, as well as that 30-minute press conference that he held about 2 weeks ago, he thought that this would be more than enough to close this case, drop this case. But as you can see, Judge Torres stated, no, you're going to follow the practice of law and follow the order and stop wasting this court's time. Now, if you want to wait, which she said that is what Jay-Z will do and his attorney will do, they will wait for this accuser's response by January the 10th. And thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for coming in. Please hit that like button. I'm going back into the comments. Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for coming in. Now, when it comes down to this case itself, is a lot of comments. Thank you guys. Hello, Easy Peasy. Hello, you guys. Darren says, lady, those rappers are guilty. Shout out to Darren. Darren in the comments. Shout out to Patriot. Going back into the comments. And Deborah says, quote unquote, not innocent. No, no, no. No, no, no. There's too much other stuff out there. He's not innocent, just like like Diddy, he's just like the rest of them that are fixing to get caught as well. And see, that is what a lot of people are stating. A lot of people are stating, and I'm noticing that in the comments because Deborah, thank you for coming in. You're not the only one that is saying this, right? Because Daisy earlier in the chat said they all will fall down. That is what people are stating in the comments. Thank you guys for coming in. Simone says, quote unquote, good for Jay-Z. He got the keys. Thank you guys. Patriot says, Deborah, what do you mean? Deborah says, are a victim of these people, please report it no matter how long it was. So Deborah is basically saying, no matter how long how long something has transpired, there should not be a quote unquote time frame. Because I want you guys to understand this, when it comes down to a lot of these quote unquote cases, these civil lawsuits, right? They have surpassed limitations, the status of limitations. Because in regards to this Jay-Z and Diddy case, okay, that was filed against this accuser, it happened back in the year of quote unquote 2000. When she was 13, now she is quote unquote 38 years old from Alabama. So a lot of people are saying, well, why didn't she do this? Why didn't she do that? My thing is, just like Deborah said, I concur, right? I concur. I don't want people to feel like there is any quote unquote victim shaming here, right? But we also have to state these quote unquote inconsistencies that this accuser's own father said he doesn't even remember, right? And this accuser that we're speaking of is and will still be identified as Jane Doe, because that was the motion, one of the motions that was made and stated Thursday, that Jay-Z cannot force this accuser to come out with her name, with her government name. It cannot be filed. It will still remain as Jane Doe. But the question is, is Jay-Z innocent? And is the lawyer that represents this accuser, Tony Buzbee himself, is he innocent? That is one of the things that we're going to be talking about, because I don't know if you guys know, there's a lot of lawsuits. Okay, and hello, Junkyard. Thank you guys for coming in. Art of War says, why put a time limit on a crime? Let's wait 50 years and then charge somebody of SA. That makes sense. Art of War. And see, this is what I want people to really sit back and understand. There is a lot going on, because I'm telling you right now, when it comes down to Mr. Tony Buzbee himself, okay, allegedly, because I don't want no smoke from Tony Buzbee, because Thursday, we got to be honest, he caught a win. Tony Buzbee did catch a win on Thursday, December the 26th. And we got to be honest, he did catch that win. He fought it against a quote unquote billionaire. And we're not just talking about Diddy, we're talking about Jay-Z, Sean Carter, right? Because according to reports, Jay-Z's as well as his beautiful wife, Miss Beyonce Knowles, their net worth together is $2.6 billion. So with Tony Buzbee, he did catch a quote unquote win. Now, for those that don't know, and I'm questioning how many other people, or should I say, quote unquote, celebrities, right, will Tony Buzbee put out there as well? Because people have to understand, Tony Buzbee did say, and I quote, he did say, and I quote, more celebrities and more facilitators will be allegedly announced. They will. And when did he state this? He stated this back in October, when he held that huge press conference, when he made the first initial announcement of 120 people that he is representing that claim to be victims to Diddy. So he did state that. And Junkyard says, what did Buzbee win? Yes, on Thursday, this past Thursday, December the 26th, the quote unquote judge did tell Jay-Z's attorney, Alex Sparrow, that you have to follow the law and practices. And all of these motions to expedite the decision making is a waste of judicial time. It's a waste of judicial court time. So when it comes down to the win for Mr. Buzbee on Thursday was that Jay-Z's attorney cannot, quote unquote, have this case dropped, for one. For two, because this is what Jay-Z's attorney wanted. For two, Jay-Z cannot force Tony Buzbee's client to identify herself in any filing. So she will remain a Jane Joe. That was the win. That was the win. And thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for coming in. Now I want to give just a little bit of background on why all this has come about, right? And thank you guys. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you wish, you can donate a super sticker. But please hit that like button. Now, just to kind of give a little background before we move forward in regards to what in the world Tony Buzbee has going on. Because in the press conference that Jay-Z's attorney held almost 2 weeks ago, he did state that all of this are false. All of this is an attack on his client because, according to Jay-Z's attorney, he's stating that Tony Buzbee has a reputation and a record for extortion. And that Jay-Z is not the only one pertaining to Diddy that has been reached out. Tony Buzbee, according to Jay-Z's attorney, allegedly has reached out to other celebrities. Okay? Has reached out to other celebrities. And Vic says, so SA is not a fruit grape. I have to say it that way, Vic. Now, I will say this. When it comes down to SA, I don't think you know what all this accuser stated in her claim, okay, in her filing, right? Because in her filing that Tony Buzbee included Jay-Z on, I think you didn't know, but that's why I said we're gonna just go back a little bit. We're gonna take it back a little bit. Because according to her, she said that she was 13 years old. She snuck out of her father's home. This is what was in the this is what was in the filing. She allegedly snuck out her father's home, a window. Her friend drove her to Manhattan, okay, to Radio City Music Hall, drove her and dropped her off. And that is when she was walking down the strip trying to talk to different drivers to see if she can get inside or get a ticket to go to not only the Den 2000 VMA, but she also wanted to go to a quote unquote after party. And that is when she somehow was able to get in touch with Diddy's limousine driver. Okay. Now, according to her, she said she was able to talk to Diddy's limousine driver. Okay. And according to her, she said that Diddy's driver said, "You look like Diddy's type," allegedly. Allegedly. And this limousine driver she met, okay, is unnamed. Okay. Now I want to make sure I read exactly what is stated allegedly in this filing that she did. She said this driver, who then worked for Combs, that is unnamed, told her, and I quote, that she fit Diddy. She fit what Diddy was looking for. The alleged limousine driver then invited her to a party after the VMA show and told her to return to his car later in the evening after he dropped off Jay-Z and Sean Combs, aka Diddy. Later that night, the driver picks her up. This is allegedly in the filing, what she's saying. And she said the driver ends up driving her 20 minutes later to a quote unquote white colored house with a U-shaped driveway. And she said before she could even enter this so-called white colored house, she had to sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, that she did not receive a copy of. Okay. And also, she said once she got into the party, this after party, she said it was filled with a lot of things going on, a lot of illegal activities, such as people doing the green and doing the Mr. Snowman, we'll say it that way. And she went into a room to rest. Why did she go into a room? Because she had received, according to her, allegedly, she received a beverage from Diddy. Okay. And it caused her to not feel so good. And she said she went into a room to lay down to get her, to get herself together. Now, mind you, she's 13 years old. This is what she's saying. She said Jay-Z, quote unquote, entered the room. Quote unquote, entered the room. Quote unquote, entered the room. And thank you guys for coming in. Please hit that like button. Now, this is when it gets a little odd. She alleges, okay, she quote unquote alleges Diddy entered the room okay, as well, and said that Diddy asked her, "You ready to party?" She then says Jay-Z removed some things, I'll say it that way, okay, and held her. Have to be very careful with my words. And that is when Diddy himself, with Jay-Z in the room, as well as an unnamed female celebrity, and the female celebrity, according to her, okay, watched. And what did this unnamed female celebrity, what was this unnamed female celebrity was just doing? Watching, quote unquote, Diddy give a fruit grape. I'll say it that way, fruit grape, to this 13-year-old. Then the lawsuit alleges Diddy, okay, all this was going on, right? She stated how Diddy got quote unquote fruit grape this 13-year-old, right? And this suit continues to say she tried to stop this that was going on. And according to her, she was able to grab her belongings and run. That is when she not only grabbed her belongings, ran out of this alleged White House. Okay? And that is when she ran to a quote unquote gas station. And this is how her father comes into play. Her father comes into play because he allegedly drove 5 hours. I think it was over 5 hours just to get to this specific gas station. And he had to drive another, 5 hours back. And according to this accuser, she said her father said nothing. Now, this is where we begin on the inconsistencies. Because this father, okay, when asked about this with NBC News, he stated he would have remembered something such as that. That is what her father said. He would have remembered something such as that. Right? And thank you guys for coming in. This is a very, very sensitive topic. And I want people to understand when it comes down to this person that we're speaking of, she is now 38 years old. And yes, Larry, you are right in the chat. This particular woman does have, other circumstances, right? That I don't want to speak of, but it is in the chat if you guys can read what is going on in the chat. Right? So I'm saying all that to say, when it came down to quote unquote, now with these motions and interviews and press conferences on Jay-Z's end, because Jay-Z on his end is stating all of this is for money. His attorney is saying that they do not quote unquote blame the accuser due to her circumstances, but if anything, they are blaming Tony Buzbee. Yes, they're blaming specifically Tony Buzbee. Now, this is where it gets a little murky, right? Because now Tony Buzbee is upset. Why? Because Jay-Z has filed a lawsuit against Tony Buzbee. And we would have never known that Jay-Z had filed a lawsuit had it not been for Tony Buzbee himself. Why? Because Jay-Z had filed anonymously back in November. He filed anonymously. And thank you so much, Jake. I'm not trying to defend anybody. Not trying to defend anybody, Jack, and you're just coming in. I appreciate it, though. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming in. Now, when it comes down to what's been going on on the back end of everything, right? Yes, on the back end of everything. It's been lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. And when I say lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, not only is it on Tony Buzbee's end and Jay-Z's end, you have the victims as well in, but it seems as if Jay-Z as well as Tony Buzbee, they're going back and forth, right? They're going back and forth. And thank you so much, Vic. Shout out to Vic Morrison. Vic Morrison says, appreciate the info. Thank you so much, Jake. And I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Cassie says, and I quote, they're all guilty, more than you can imagine. And Lovely says, Jay decided to take it public and claim a shakedown when no money was demanded. And Lovely, thank you so much. I'm glad you spoke on that, because I want people to understand this. When it comes down to this accuser, this 38-year accuser now, the specified damages are unspecified. She did not give a specific amount of money. So Lovely, you're absolutely right. And thank you so much, Sky King. Shout out to Sky King for the $40. Thank you so much. We support it. Thank you so much. Right? So I want people to understand this. This is a platform where we welcome all. We don't victim shame. We are just giving the information. We're just giving the information. Right? Now, before I continue, I have to read. We're going to have a middle break. I got to read this, the fair use copyright disclaimer. Thank you guys for coming in. Fair use copyright disclaimer to cover ourselves. Fair use copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, commenting, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by the copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. I have to read it. This is a very, 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 it's a topic. It's a very heavy topic, right? Very heavy and sensitive topic. Now, when it comes down to all of these lawsuits, right? I said to myself, what is Jay-Z talking about? What is Jay-Z's attorney talking about when it comes down to these tit-for-tat lawsuits and tit-for-tat statements? Because now, according to Tony Buzbee, he has had enough. He's had enough. Because he said he had to file a lawsuit against Jay-Z, because it has gotten to that point. Yes. And what is this lawsuit pertaining of? Now, Tony Buzbee gave a specific money number. And thank you so much, Mr. Vic Morrison. Thank you so much, Vic Morrison. Vic Morrison says, light. And shout out to Sky King once again. Now, Tony Buzbee did file a $25 million lawsuit against the law firm that is currently representing Jay-Z and that Mr. Alex Sparrow is representing, called Quinn Emanuel Firm. Right? And according to Tony Buzbee, he's stating that both the law firms, Quinn Emanuel, as well as a company called Lex Intelligence, LEX Intelligence, have done the following allegations against Tony Buzbee himself and his firm. Now, Tony Buzbee said that, quote unquote, that both law firms, or should I say the Quinn Emanuel law firm and Lex Intelligence, has been watching Tony Buzbee through surveillance and containing people, okay, watching people related to Tony Buzbee's law firm. And also have been trying to get a hold of people under false pretenses to get info. And even so much, and this is in regards to Tony Buzbee, he said they have even started to bother his own daughter. Yes, you heard right. Tony Buzbee said he had to file a $25 million lawsuit against the law firm that is representing Jay-Z, called Quinn Emanuel, because he said Quinn Emanuel law firm, as well as a company called LEX Intelligence, have been surveying people pertaining to his law firm as well as himself. And within this lawsuit, the lawsuit claims both Jay-Z lawsuit filed November the 18th and Jane Doe's lawsuit that was filed November the 19th against him are connected. Remember what I just said, a Jane Doe. Now, who is this Jane Doe? We have another Jane Doe, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, this is a lawsuit against Tony Buzbee. You heard right. Tony Buzbee, he's stating that there is a Jane Doe that filed a lawsuit against him the very day after Jay-Z anonymously filed a lawsuit against him. Jay-Z filed anonymously November the 18th of this year. And Jane Doe, a Jane Doe that was once represented by Tony Buzbee himself, she filed the very next day. And according to Tony Buzbee, he's stating that both Jay-Z and this Jane Doe, they are working together to sue him. And in addition to all of this lawsuit was filed December the 5th. Tony Buzbee we're talking about. This is the same Tony Buzbee that is representing 120 quote unquote Diddy accusers, right? This is the same person that has currently officially filed 20 of those 120 accusers, 20 civil lawsuits currently against Diddy, and one against Diddy and Jay-Z. Now, December the 5th comes in. Now Tony Buzbee files a lawsuit against, quote unquote, Jay-Z's law firm, the law firm that represents Jay-Z. Now, with Buzbee, he did try to file a restraining order. Yes, it's gotten to that point. He tried to file a quote unquote restraining order against the law firm that represents Jay-Z, but it got denied. Yes, it got denied. Now, this was December the 5th. Now, when the restraining order got denied, right? So now we're moving forward, December the 8th. December the 8th, that's when Tony Buzbee said, I've had enough. I'm going to call Jay-Z's name out. He's no longer going to be an unknown. I'm going to refile that October the 20th lawsuit where my client stated that Diddy, quote unquote, did a fruit break upon her. I'm also going to add Jay-Z's name in it officially. That was the date that he, quote unquote, officially, quote unquote, did a refile on December the 8th. Now, this is where we are right now. And I completely, Hondo, you're absolutely right, because that is what a lot of people are stating. Is that the real reason Jay-Z is wanting to have this quote unquote Jane Doe? Is that why his attorney wanted Jane Doe's name to be filed? Because a lot of people are stating that, do they want her to feel quote unquote intimidated? But remember what I just stated to you guys. Tony Buzbee has some Jane Does as far as lawsuits against him. I just told you one. There's more. Yes, there's more lawsuits against Tony Buzbee. Right? There's more Jane Does that are allegedly against Tony Buzbee. Right? So let's move forward. Look, let's move forward. And before I move forward, I gotta respect the chat. I have to go back into the chat. Shout out to Lovely for stating that Jay decided to take it public and claim a shakedown. Lovely says, y'all gotta do better. Patriot says, please like and subscribe. Keep comments respectful and civilized. Thank you so much, Patriot. The Panda Man. Here we go. We have one. We have someone. I'm just going to let you guys read it, because I'm not going to read this madness, because that's not true. But thank you for coming in. Patriot says, no matter the color of one's skin or one of two genders, no one should be, quote unquote, and I concur, Patriot. I absolutely concur. And thank you so much, Patriot. Yolanda says, why going after the wrong people, which is why the judge pretty much scolded Jay's attorney. Why go after the lawyer? Because a hit dog will holler. Absolutely agree. And that is why this judge, Judge Torres, made the quote unquote motion of denying Jay-Z's quote unquote motion. This past Thursday. And thank you guys for coming in. Please hit that like button. Patriot says, this is a peaceful stream for people, the comments, to speak to one another about issues. Yes, thank you so much. Easy Peasy, shout out to Easy Peasy. Easy Peasy says hello. Shout out to Easy Peasy. Darren says, lady, those rappers are guilty. Vic says, I go on facts and evidence. Facts and evidence count. Yes, and that is why I welcome you guys, because here on this platform we don't pick a side. We go off of what Vic Morrison stated that I penned. We go off of facts, right? And we welcome everyone. We welcome everyone as long as you are what? Respectful in the chat. Junkyard says hi, PG, hello. Art of War says, yeah, why put a time limit on crime? Let's wait 50 years and then charge somebody for it. This is why people have to understand when it comes down to all this madness that's been going on, right? That's why I say it's going to be more people come in. It's going to be more people come into when it comes down to lawsuits pertaining to Diddy, when it comes down to quote unquote lawsuits. I got to be very careful, because as I just gave you some examples, when it comes down to the lawsuits with Diddy, when it comes down to the lawsuits with Jay-Z, because in this live, Jay-Z has one lawsuit against an accuser, and also he has another lawsuit against Tony Buzbee, who's representing the accuser. Tony Buzbee is suing for $25 million, but he's doing it indirectly. He's not suing Jay-Z. He's suing Jay-Z's law firm for $25 million. This is how things are going about, right? Let me stroll down. Northern Dame says, where is the limo driver? Was the limo driver? And the person who took her to New York City. Yes, the friend of this now 38-year-old accuser. That's another inconsistency, because now the friend that actually drove her to Radio City Hall in 2000, where the VMAs was held. She has passed away. She has quote unquote passed away. And this limousine driver is unnamed. Jacqueline, shout out to Jacqueline. You have asked, this is the best question for anybody. Jacqueline says, where are the parents? And this is a big question for anyone, right? And like I stated, because we have to keep in mind, right? This is why I respect parents and I stand by parents, right? It's not an easy task to be a parent. It's not. Because even in this case, this accuser's parent is still alive, the father. And the father stated he can't even go that far back. He doesn't even recollect the things that his daughter has said in regards to him coming to pick her up at a quote unquote gas station. Right? He doesn't even remember. And shout out to Cha on Demand. Cha on Demand says, happy you came on late today. And Cha on Demand, I'm happy to see you too in the chat. So we have to look at certain things in certain perspectives, right? Because when it comes down to where are the parents, the father said, I don't remember. I don't remember this story. But then again, we have to go back. He did state that he can't remember so much. A lot of things has happened within 24 years. A lot of things has happened. That's as far as he got on his end. Right? That's as far as he got with it on his end. Notice how I'm saying it. Because we have to be mindful. This is still an active case going on. Because according to Jay-Z, they tried to have this case expeditiously dropped and dismissed. But because of the motion that was made this past Thursday on the 26th, it was denied. Okay? It was denied to have this case, quote unquote, expeditiously dismissed. And thank you guys for coming in. We're going to go back into the comments. I want to try to go all the way down. Thank you so much for coming in. One Love says all of these celebrities are. Ooh, I can't read that. Let me skip that. We have to be respectful in the chat. We have to be respectful in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to Sky King for the super chat. Thank you so much, you guys. If you would like to donate, you can donate a super chat. You can also please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you would like to even support more, you can become a member to the platform. Now, when it comes down to what's been going on with this madness? And shout out to Sandy. Sandy says, why is Jay-Z not in jail? Jay-Z is not in jail. The same reason I can't get into it. I'll say it this way, right? There is a thing called, and people would disagree with me, right? But we've talked about it on this platform. There's a thing called what? Innocent until proven guilty. That's how it's supposed to be, according to law. Innocent until proven guilty. Because there have been, quote unquote, a number of people that used to work with Jay-Z. I don't want to get into specific names, that have said Jay-Z used to, quote unquote, allegedly hang around young people, allegedly. And I want to be very careful, right? Want to be very, very careful. Because according to Jay-Z, he's stating that these accusations in this new lawsuit that has been filed is for money. Quote unquote, pure money. Now, back to Tony Buzbee. Because Tony Buzbee, he has tried to file a restraining order back on December the 5th, because of all of this madness going on. Yes, a quote unquote restraining order. And also, because of all of this that's been going on, he filed a quote unquote lawsuit. And I want to read a response, one of the responses that Tony Buzbee has basically said all of this is. He stated that the smear campaign continues. Today, I was sued yet again by a lawyer affiliated with the same lawyers I faced in the Diddy litigation. The conspiracy to discredit me and intimidate me from pursuing claims in Diddy litigation has at this point become criminal. So this is the level that, and the tone that, quote unquote, Tony Buzbee is giving. Right? He's stating that these other people coming his way, coming from his past, they are all in cahoots with Jay-Z. Jay-Z and these other entities, they have came together and they're trying to find a way to, quote unquote, not only put him down, but put his law firm down. This is what he says now. This is what he says. Now, when it comes down to these quote unquote lawsuits, right? Because December the 5th, he files a lawsuit. Why? Because November the 18th, Jay-Z does a lawsuit anonymously. And November the 19th, a Jane Doe files a lawsuit against him, against Tony Buzbee himself. Then also on December the 5th, he tried to file a restraining order against the law firm that represents Jay-Z, but they denied him. They denied him. December 8th rolls in. Jay-Z, then that's when Tony Buzbee refiles an October the 20th lawsuit that was originally just against Diddy, now puts Jay-Z in. Why? To Jay-Z's response, his attorney's response, they're insinuating that the reason this lawsuit was filed because Jay-Z refused to give money. They're stating Jay-Z was extorted. He was extorted by Tony Buzbee. And thank you guys. Oh my goodness, Diddy is in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Diddy's in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for coming in. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Yes, there is someone named Diddy in the chat. There's someone in the chat named Diddy. And Ally says, we're going to wait for the justice system to do its job. I got to highlight that. Because, I mean, I want people to understand this. Sometimes you cannot just take things into your own hand. And it seems as if people are trying to take things in their own hand in this world, right? And I want to be safe to say, you know, you can't just always take things into your own hands, because if you try to take things into your own hand, you will end up locked up. And if you are going to take things into your own hand, be smart about it, right? Do it clean. And when I say clean, legally clean, right? As far as filing a lawsuit, right? Not quote unquote doing a quote unquote Luigi, because that's what people are, you know, trying to say Luigi's a hero, but we don't condone any form of violence. No form of violence. If you want to state your case, right? Do it legally. Do a paper trail. Do it in a way where you are out and you're able to walk about and not either end up locked up or 16 feet under, as they say. And thank you guys for coming in. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you would like, you can donate a super sticker. And shout out to quote unquote Sky King. Now, December the 9th. December the 9th comes in. Jay-Z confirms, yes. Well, he wasn't the one that confirmed it. Tony Buzbee called him out. So Jay-Z said, yes, I was the one that filed the lawsuit anonymously on November the 18th. Okay, since Tony Buzbee want to call me out on it. Okay, yes, I did. Right? Now, when it comes down to back to these lawsuits, and shout out to the Mod Squad for handling business. Thank you, Chat on Demand. Thank you, Out of War. Thank you guys for handling business. And shout out to Fabulous for coming in. Thank you guys. Now, some people say, well, what are the other lawsuits? What are the other lawsuits against Tony Buzbee himself? Because now Tony Buzbee is really, really getting irritated right now. December the 19th pulls up. December the 19th pulls up. Right? Now there is another Jane Doe that has filed a lawsuit where New York Supreme Court. And she's filing it against Tony Buzbee. And how far back does this lawsuit go? According, as far as her allegations go, according to her, she claims that Tony Buzbee has been exploiting her since 2018. She said they first connected through online chat. Shout out to Hassan. Thank you for the super sticker. Thank you so much, Hassan. Got to give a shout out to Hassan. Hassan says, good show. Let's go. Thank you so much, Hassan. Thank you so much, Sky King. Shout out to Hassan and Sky King. Now, when it comes down to this quote unquote lawsuit of this Jane Doe, she stated that Tony Buzbee and her connected through an online chat. What are the odds? What are the odds? Just like we're talking in this chat, this Jane Doe said that's how she connected with Tony Buzbee. She says that's how she connected with quote unquote Tony Buzbee. The woman claims, this Jane Doe claims that Tony Buzbee reserved a room at a luxury hotel. And I think you guys can connect the dots from there. What happened after that? She alleges that's when one thing led to another amongst them, so much to the point that she, quote unquote, she caught a transmission, as they say, from her encounters with Tony Buzbee at a luxury hotel. And she said she left the hotel the very next day and she started feeling uncomfortable. Allegedly. Shout out to Johnny. Now, I want people to understand, when it comes down to this, she is alleging this, right? Alleging this, allegedly. Have to be careful. Now, she stated she went to go get tested and she personally reached out to Buzbee to let him know. And she stated Tony Buzbee apologized. But he didn't seem shocked, allegedly. She alleges that Tony Buzbee asked her to keep her diagnosis under the wraps and even offered her free legal advice as a way to make amends. Okay? And despite feeling the shame, this is what she says, despite feeling the shame, she continued to deal with Tony Buzbee. And she claimed that he kept her in a tight leash, on a tight leash, to manipulate her into keeping quiet. Now, this is why Tony Buzbee released his statement and now is claiming this is all a smear campaign. And it is all because he is representing a number of clients pertaining to Diddy litigation. Now, thank you guys for coming in. Shout out to Hassan. Shout out to everyone in this chat going into the comments. Northern Dame says it's a shame to have to pay out thousands of dollars to defend yourself, especially against false allegations. Mimi says Jay-Z and Buzbee are going back and forth because Jay-Z is trying to give a message out there. And shout out to Mimi. To any other lawyer who dares try him, this is what I'm gonna do to you. And that is what Buzbee is saying. That is what Buzbee is saying. That is also what Jay-Z is saying. Jay-Z is saying anybody that has been approached by Tony Buzbee behind the scenes, or anybody that has been approached by an attorney or lawyer and trying to put you in this Diddy mess, speak up. And you know it's not true, you speak up. But Tony Buzbee on the back end is also saying, right, do not allow these rich billionaires, hint hint Jay-Z, to scare you. Because just like I told you in this live, Tony Buzbee has also filed the lawsuit, but indirectly is to Jay-Z's law firm. Well, the law firm that's representing Jay-Z. Also, when it comes down to, yes, Alex Spiro, the attorney that represents Jay-Z, he did state in this press conference that he held, yes, Jay-Z's attorney held a huge press conference stating that he does not know what Tony Buzbee is talking about. He has never heard of a company called LEX Intelligence. And all of that is just false claim, false allegations. Because remember what I said, according to Tony Buzbee in his lawsuit that he filed back in December, let me make sure I go back, December the 5th, he filed a lawsuit for $25 million claiming, okay, against the law firm that Alex Spiro represents, filed the lawsuit. And in that lawsuit, he claimed that Quinn Emanuel Law Firm and a company called Lex Intelligence, they have been watching him as well as people pertaining to him, surveillance wise. And so much to the point, they have been bothering even Tony Buzbee's daughter, allegedly, according to Tony Buzbee. And thank you guys for coming in. Going back into the comments. Vic Morrison says, shout out to Vic. Jeanette says, rats are abandoning the ships. Too many victims are speaking out. And Patriot, I hope to see you come back. Child on Demand. Shout out to Child on Demand. Shout out to, once again, Fabulous. I'm going down to comments right now. Hondo says Jane Doe is telling the truth. Everyone knows these are ooh. And thank you guys for coming in. Let me make sure I read these comments before I highlight it. Child on the Man says, happy you came on late today. Yes. Also, Child on Demand says, like the live, it supports the content. It's free. Hit the notification button. Yes. Sandy says, why Jay-Z is not locked up? Child on Demand says, Jay-Z is a liar. The moment he said he wasn't friends with Diddy, showed his character. There's more pictures with him and Diddy than him and his own wife. Now, I want people to understand when it comes down to, and that's what I want you guys Thank you guys for still staying in. This is my question for anybody, right? And let's be honest. If like you knew Diddy, right? And it got to a level like this that Diddy is in when it comes down to the fact Diddy cannot bond out, even though he has tried to present to Judge Jerome $50 million bond. It was denied. Would you, let's be honest, would you acknowledge that you were ever friends with Diddy outside of business terms? Would you just think about it? Because we have to look at it. Seems as if nobody wants to be associated with Diddy now. But these are the same people that went to Diddy's parties, that had conversations with Diddy's family, that had, in Jay-Z's case, I mean, I told you guys in one live before, in Jay-Z's case, Jay-Z actually at one point, he flew on his private jet just to show support to Diddy. Years ago, went out of his way just to show Diddy his support. So I want people to understand this. And how do we know this? Because Diddy did an interview about this back in 2009 when they asked him. And Diddy said it, and I quote, "I value our friendship. I value our friendship." Diddy further along said, "People see us as competitors and different icons, but that was just a moment of two Black brothers telling each other how much they appreciate each other." Now think about that. Think about that. Diddy has said there that they were friends and that they appreciate each other. And I even showed you guys a video where Diddy and Jay-Z actually told them each other that they loved each other. I love you. I love you too. Diddy said, I love you. Jay-Z said, I love you too. So how do we get to a point from I love you too, to, in the case of Jay-Z's attorney recently said, there has never been a quote unquote friendship. Sean Carter has nothing to do with Sean Combs or the Sean Combs allegation. So how do we get from that point to this point? I don't get it. And shout out to Child on Demand for putting that out there, because I had already spoke about it. And it's true. It's true. Child on Demand says, I actually think this lawyer is playing chess and Jay-Z might not be used to that, especially with the outcome of the case. My opinion. Absolutely agree, because people have to understand when you have a certain type of power, right? Because you can have money and not have power. You can have power and not have money. We discussed that. But when it comes down to people being told the word no, and people who are used to the word yes, such as Jay-Z, or should I say billionaires, or you don't even have to be a billionaire. You can be a multi-millionaire. You can be a millionaire. People, period, who are used to the word yes and not used to the word no. When you encounter somebody such as Tony Buzbee, you get uncomfortable because you guys have already discussed in this live. Tony Buzbee is not biting. He's not dropping any cases. And the Judge Torres, she even told Jay-Z no last Thursday. How did she tell him no? She told him no by denying to drop the case. And what? I'm sorry. She told him no by telling his attorney she would not force Tony Buzbee's accuser to identify herself. So we have to take all this into play. And thank you guys for coming in. Thank you so much for coming in. Now, when it comes down to other cases pertaining to Tony Buzbee, these so-called lawsuits against Tony Buzbee, I already told you guys there's one Jane Doe that filed a lawsuit back in January. Well, not January. One lawsuit that a Jane Doe filed the day after Jay-Z filed the lawsuit, okay, against Tony Buzbee. She filed a lawsuit against Tony Buzbee November the 19th. Then I just discussed with you another Jane Doe. She files a lawsuit December the 19th, okay, alleging that she received a transmission. I'll say it that way, right? She received some type of transmission against Tony Buzbee, allegedly. And according to her, Tony Buzbee, the only thing that Tony Buzbee could offer was an apology. Not only an apology, but to continue to have a quote unquote alleged relationship with her, a physical relationship with her. And not only did he offer that, in response to what she's saying, she told him that she had ended up receiving from him, but he offered free counsel. That's what he offered, according to her. According to her in this new lawsuit. Now, delving back into the past with Tony Buzbee, because this is what Jay-Z's attorney is trying to throw out, saying, well, Tony Buzbee, he's been doing this. He's been doing this. He's all about the money. He's all about the money. And from my research, okay, there were, quote unquote, 2 lawsuits filed in Louisiana. You can't make this up, ladies and gentlemen. Filed in Louisiana. Okay? By 2 men. And these lawsuits that were filed in Louisiana federal court, they accused Tony Buzbee and Tony Buzbee's law firm of pocketing money, settlement money. Now, the first case, a gentleman by the name of Adam. Okay, I'm going to just say his first name. And shout out to John. John says, hi, PG. Hi, John. Shout out to John. Got to give John some love. Now, according to Adam, he states that he retained Buzbee law firm in 2020 after an injury he received while on a ship at work. He alleges Tony Buzbee took advantage of him by not explaining the quote unquote expenses that involved in this case, where he got injured on the job. Buzbee's law firm retained most of the $350,000 settlement. And in the end, Adam's attorneys claim that Adam only received out of $350,000 settlement. Adam only received $5,000, $5,123. That was the first gentleman. Second gentleman in the Louisiana federal court case. right? By a man named Matthew. Says that Tony Buzbee law firm represented Matthew in 2023. This is recent. And with Matthew also said he got injured on the job. Deb, I implore you to come on my page, okay? Because I do give live. It's a new format, but I do give lives where I show receipts, right? I show receipts. And if it's not true, right? Why did Tony Buzbee even give a response? Now, to cover ourselves, myself anyway, can't speak for you, Deb. You said you don't believe it. And like I said, when it comes down to these are cases, right? These are cases that pertain to Tony Buzbee. Vic says, thanks for the education. Shout out to Vic in the comments. Vic says, thanks for the education. He spelled it just like that, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to Vic. Gotta love Vic. Now, when it comes down to this quote-unquote case that we're speaking about, this is quote-unquote allegations, right? Allegations. Now, I want to make sure with these two gentlemen we're speaking about, they are alleging that they did have Tony Buzbee represent them, okay, with cases where they were injured on the job. And with both of these cases, they are claiming that they did not receive the proper amount that they deserve. Matthew stated, like I stated, this happened. He filed it in 2023, okay, where Tony Buzbee was representing him. He alleged that this law firm allegedly deposited his checks into Tony Buzbee's law firm operating account and issued funds to Matthew and his wife through Venmo as high interest loans. Now, let me understand this. In Matthew's case, he said he got injured in 2023 on the job. And he's stating that after they won the case, Tony Buzbee's law firm paid him and his wife through Venmo, but through a high interest loans. Now, I don't know. Now, Deb, look, I might be leaning on your side now. Like, I don't know. It sounds kind of murky. I don't know. It does sound murky, Deb. I'll give you that. It sounds murky because I've never heard somebody being represented by a lawyer and law firm. They win the settlement, and the settlement is received through Venmo under high interest loans. I've never heard of that. Now, Deb, I will give you that. Look, this is allegedly, okay? Because I don't know, because it just doesn't sound right. Now, Tony Buzbee, his response. He did give a response. And Tony Buzbee says, he has affidavits from both clients agreeing and approving the accounting in their cases. And he also dismisses these claims as frivolous. And he claims that both Adam and Matthew were designed to harm his reputation and undermine his firm's role in representing, watch this, he's blaming this against, quote unquote, these ongoing litigations against whom? Diddy. So he's stating that all of these people are coming from his past, and that somehow they are in cahoots with this Jay-Z and Diddy madness, and they're all working together Oh, I forgot that, because according to Buzbee, according to Tony Buzbee, he is alleging that both former clients, Adam and Matthew, they were financially, quote unquote financially taken care of by Jay-Z, allegedly. Let me make sure I'm being very careful with my words. He alleges that both Adam and Matthew were financially incentivized to receive lawsuits against him, adding that one former client was offered $10,000 to file a lawsuit against him. Now, I want to make sure I change that, because he didn't say who. He didn't say who the former client received the $10,000 from. It wasn't Jay-Z. He just said a former client received $10,000 from someone. Right? So Tony Buzbee, he's saying that all these lawsuits are coming, and all these people are bringing stuff back up, because he's the only one that's quote unquote representing such a large amount of quote unquote victims. That is what he's saying. That is what he's standing on. Right? And thank you guys for coming in. Let me go into this chat, into this live. I got to pay my much respect to quote unquote Child on Demand. And I got look, you guys see it. There is somebody named Diddy in the chat. Thank you. Diddy is saying allegations in the chat. Someone has named their channel as Diddy, and they're saying allegations. Shout out to Cedric Jones. Shout out to Larry. Shout out to Commons Matter. Says, I do support. Thank you for the support. Sandy says, and I quote, the smearing campaign is real. People will do it till they have all people believing it, whether guilty or innocent. The truth, because they did it to Trump. Whoa, now we're putting Trump in this. Whoa. So Sandy, you're saying that, okay, they are smearing, quote unquote, smearing Tony Buzbee, and you're comparing it to Donald Trump, them smearing Donald Trump on the political platform. And shout out to Hassan. I had to highlight your name, Hassan. Thank you so much, Hassan, for the support. Hassan says, good show. Thank you. Thank you. Johnny says, alleges, keyword. Yes, alleges. And Child the Man says, thank you, Hassan, for gifting the family. Shout out to Hassan once again, going down. And thank you guys. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Shout out to John. Child on the Man says, hey, John. John says, hi, PG. And shout out to Deb. Deb says, I don't believe it. I don't believe this. Vic says, thanks for the education. And yes, thank you guys for coming in. And yes, shout out to Vic. Thank you so much, Vic, for subscribing to the platform. And Old Glory says, I don't understand why anyone at all cares. Now, when it comes down to why we care, because we have to do the reports, right? And the information. And I don't want people to ever feel like they are being victim shamed, because I do feel like you have to take a stand when it's needed. right? And the reason I'm reporting this because I want people to know, A, it is quote unquote never too late. B, right? B, quote unquote, also understand. Thank you, child on demand. You are not playing no games. Thank you, because I was, boy, yes. But we have to understand when it comes down to, we don't do any victim shaming. We respect all opinions, and we have to give the information. Because I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, we have too many people thinking that they can get away with things and thinking that they can just do what they want, when they want, how they want it. And if they say drop, they want you to drop. If they say be quiet, be quiet. Why am I speaking on this? Because look what has been going on in New York. Yes, New York, as in New York City, right? When it comes down to the chief, the former chief himself, he had to resign. Why? Because according to him, he admitted that he had a relationship, that he said it really wasn't nothing. He had a quote unquote alleged relationship of some sort with the former lieutenant in New York. And this is the same lieutenant that quote unquote walked away with an overtime pay salary for 1 year of $200,000. See, this is what happened when people get to a certain point and they think they can do what they want and when they want. And if they don't get what they want, that's when they want to throw out things. So this is why on this platform we talk about everything. We welcome everyone. And likewise, Larry, shout out to Larry. I do not respect them either. I'll say it that way. I can't say the other part that you said. But if you guys can read in the chat, I concur with Larry. Child on Demand says, thank you for joining the family. I am Jacob says, blessings, politic. Likewise, I am Jacob. Brendan says, Diddy's a quote unquote diddler. Child on Demand, thank you so much for the support. Vic says subscribe. And I have to be careful what I pin in this platform, ladies and gentlemen. Please be respectful in the chat, right? Please be respectful in this chat. Shout out to I am Jacob. Shout out to Larry Fine. And Larry, you said it best. I gotta highlight it. Larry says, and I quote, young people can't protect themselves. That's why parents need to be parents. It starts where? At home. I cannot agree anymore. I think that is that took it home. Because we talked about that accountability as responsibility. Chris says, great chat, loving it. Thank you so much. Shout out to Chris. Thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate it. I utterly appreciate it. Thank you so much, you guys. I had a great live today. Thank you so much. Now, when it comes down to Tony Buzbee, my personal thoughts on this and Jay-Z, right? But before I give my thoughts, I want to give Rock Nation's response. Yes, Rock Nation's response. Okay? And that is quote unquote co-owned by whom? Jay-Z himself. So you might as well say Jay-Z himself, but I'm not going to do it. It says Rock Nation's response. And this is the response in regards to Tony Buzbee saying that this is a smear campaign. People are trying to smear me, my firm, because they want to avoid the Diddy litigation. They want they want this whole madness to go away. And according to Tony Buzbee, he says this is why all these lawsuits are coming in. He's pointing fingers at Jay-Z's law firm. He's pointing fingers at Jay-Z himself. He's doing all this pointing fingers. So this is Roc Nation's response. Roc Nation's response, maybe I should have read this tomorrow, but Roc Nation's response is, and I quote, God is behind that sunlight you keep referencing. We are not the source of every sunlight that you get, but Roc sunshine is coming your way, Mr. 1-800. That was an actual response, ladies and gentlemen, from Roc Nation. And why? Why? Because in regards to Tony Buzbee, in one of his responses, he did call out or try to put Roc Nation's name out there or brand out there. Because according to Tony Buzbee, he said, and I quote, "It now seems that every other day there is another false claim filed, all of which are being, quote unquote, ganged up by individuals working on behalf of or in concert with those Roc Nation and Diddy interests." Notice what he's saying. He's saying Roc Nation and Diddy interests. This is Tony Buzbee's quote unquote quote. This latest one is probably false, with literally no factual basis or merit whatsoever. Prior to filing it, this lawyer demanded $20 million from me, claiming that if I didn't pay, he would trash my reputation, despite being shown that his client's wild claims could not be true. We won't just sit back and allow criminality to continue. We have reported this conduct to the relevant legal authorities and will be filing our own cases against those behind this to put a stop to it once and for all. Now, I want people to understand this. It's a lot of tit and tat going on. I'll say it that way. It is a lot of tit for tat. And Larry said it best. Don't be scared to stand up. Child on Demand says Roc is not founded under God, and God don't know them. Child on Demand also states, since when Roc Nation uses God's light in anything sentence. And see, this is what I want people to understand. This is where we are now. Now we're putting, like, what happened to the victims? What happened to protecting our kids? What happened to, quote unquote, protecting the victims and protecting the kids and not allowing it to get to a point where we're getting into all of this? And when I say we, I mean the lawyers and even Roc Nation putting God into this. I mean, I don't understand. It's too much. It's too much. And thank you guys for coming in. I appreciate all of the support. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Now I think it's that time, because I promised myself I wasn't gonna go over like I did before. Shout out to everyone. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Please, and last but not least, when this live is over, If you would like to even support more, you can go back and replay this live. And thank you so much. I saw a like. I saw the like. Thank you so much for the like. Thank you, you guys. Larry says, we're all criminals in one way or the other or another. Just not when it comes to the vulnerable. If you hurt the kids or elders, then you made a choice, and that I can't forgive. Now, my question is, this is my next question. How old is a person considered a child? That's a question I want to ask you guys, and shout out to everybody that's watching. My question to you guys, how old is considered a child or a minor? Are you still technically considered a minor if you're under the age of 21? Are you still considered a child if you're under the age of 21 or a minor? Are you considered child on demand? Says until 18. There's a reason I asked that. There's a reason I asked that. Because that's another thing I notice. I notice that when, and I will speak on it tomorrow a little bit more, maybe tomorrow or Monday, we'll see. But I notice, and you guys tell me who I'm talking about. I notice when a quote unquote 20-year-old or 21-year-old woman, oh yes, I have time today or this weekend. If a 20 or 20-year-old woman can date or be in a relationship with a 15-year-old, why is she not being held accountable with a 15-year-old athlete? Notice what I just said. How is it a 20 or 21-year-old female is not quote unquote being held accountable for being in a quote unquote alleged relationship with a 15-year-old athlete? But remember what I said. And I'll break down on that topic even more. And thank you guys for coming in. Child on demand says until 18. Cardiac says under 18. Larry says by law 18. By human traits, no such timeline. Cardiac says at the doctor's office it's more like 13. John Bryan, shout out to John Bryan. John Bryan says putting an age on a state of mind is controversial. Now, the reason I want people to think about that before I, in this live, because we're going to talk about it in the next live, because there has been a recent athlete, and notice what I said, a recent athlete whose girlfriend has been getting a lot of backlash because they started dating when he was 15 and she was a quote unquote sophomore in college. Notice what I said. He was 15-year-old football player in high school and she was a sophomore in college. And they have made headlines recently. Fast forward, now he's in the position where, of course, she graduated ahead of him. She was a sophomore when she met him. So she already has her bachelor's degree now. And he will be entering the NFL next year. So I want you guys to think about who I'm talking about, because now people are trying to tell this soon to be top three athlete, also Heisman Trophy, current Heisman Trophy winner. They're trying to tell him, you need to leave that girlfriend. But the question is, why nobody told him not to leave her when he was dating her when she was 15? Well, when he was 15 and she was a sophomore in college. But it seems to me, right, society has things all misconstrued. Because it's okay, you know, when you don't, when the person is not in the limelight, right? But soon as an athlete gets in the limelight and is almost approaching NFL standings, because he will enter the NFL next year, and he did win the Heisman Trophy. And on top of that, this is a person that is making more money than a lot of people make in a lifetime while he is currently in college right now. And the person that I'm speaking of, I don't even think he's 21. But now his girlfriend, who's older than him, who allegedly met him when he was 15 years old, and she was a sophomore in college, now it's a problem. And why am I speaking on this in connection with this Diddy and Jay-Z and Tony Buzbee? Because this is why people have to, quote unquote, be a voice. This is why people have to, quote unquote, call things out when things happen. It is never cute when somebody that is a minor, I don't care if it's a female or male, I don't care. It is never cute, even how cute they may look. It is never cute here in, quote unquote, America, because I can't speak for other countries, because other countries, I mean, you have other countries, they just let kids be grown. But when we're speaking here in America, according to American laws, because that's why I asked you guys in the comments, when you guys said you're considered a minor until 18, right? Well, then why do we continue to have these adults deal with these quote unquote minors? That's a problem here in America. And the only time it's an issue, right? It will be put out there. I'll say it this way. It will be put out there as an issue is when something really has to happen. So I want you guys to think about that. I'm going to go back into the comments. Thank you guys for coming in. John says, I already read that. John says, putting an age on a state of mind is controversial. Yes. Child the Man says, I'm calling out Diddy's family. Wait a minute. Let's go. Let's take it. Child on the Man says, I'm calling out Diddy's family because they keep calling his sons and daughters kids. Absolutely. Because I want guys to understand, Diddy's sons are grown men. They're all three of his sons are over the age of 25. Over the age of 25. And thank you so much, Shot on the Man. I concur. Larry Fine. Everybody saying, Shot on the Man says they are all 18 over. Yes. Larry Fine says Diddy is a small ship in the world of what he has done. Who's worse, the provider or the attendee? I agree. Supply and demand. And that's the scary part. Absolutely. Absolutely. Child on Demand says when a person has a disability or mental diagnosis, and that's one of the issues that people have been concerned about when it comes down to this healthcare system here in America. DJ says the girl's brother set it all up. Oh, DJ calling the name out. I highlight it. Patrick says, let's hear about Oprah. See, these are the things that people don't want to talk about. These are the people that people don't want to talk about. Shout out to DJ Steady. Shout out to Patrick. Larry Fine says, the reason these women and men are going to Buzbee is because he's willing to fight for them. Look at how he shone the light on Deshaun Watson. Boom. Thank you, Larry. Because I tell you guys this is my thing. Why hasn't any other lawyer took a stand before now? Right? Why? But on that note, I thank you guys for coming in. Please hit that like button. Shout out to everybody that has came into the platform. Shout out to everybody. Thank you so much. I made a promise to myself I will not be catching myself. You guys, I love it. Last time I stayed here 4 hours. But I said, if I'm going to do another live tomorrow or later on, I cannot do 4 or 5 hour lives. But thank you guys for coming in. I appreciate the love. Shout out to everybody. And before I go, I have to give out much praise and shout out to Larry Fine, DJ Steady, Patrick Barrett, Fishbone, Child on Demand. I am Jacob, Chris S. Thank you so much for coming in. Junkyard, Greg M, Hassan, Vic Morrison. I can't forget about you. Monkey, thank you so much, Monkey, for coming in. Thank you, Jake. Goodbye, Jake, and thank you for coming, though. Malcolm, I'm finally getting to you. I'm so sorry, Malcolm. Let me read some of your comments. Malcolm says, just like breaking an entry is not theft. Oh, Malcolm, you came in here with some controversy comments. I don't know if I can pin that. Woo. Shout out to Northern Dame. Shout out to Malcolm. Shout out to Susan saying church. Shout out to Clayton. Shout out to Patriot. Shout out to OG Brand. Shout out to Melinda. Shout out to Fabulous. Thank you guys for coming in. I appreciate the support. Shout out to Cardiac. Cardiac says, have a great day. Child the Man says, as they say, the dark don't like the light, and Buzz is the light showing the dark. Gotta highlight it. And also, thank you, DJ Steady. DJ Steady Will says, just subscribe. Let me highlight you. Shout out to DJ Steady. Shout out to DJ Steady. Cardiac says, have a great day. Likewise. And thank you guys for coming in. And Casper says, shout me out, please. Shout out to Child on Demand. Child on Demand says, hit the replay. Child on Demand says, hit the replay. If you're just coming in, and subscribe for future content. Thank you guys. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the love. Thank you so much. Please hit that one if you can still hear my voice, because I had a glitch in my system. If you can hear me still, please hit that one. Please hit a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. If you can hear me, please hit a 1 in the chat. If you can hear me. Can you guys hear me in this live? Can you guys still hear me? I repeat, can you guys still, quote unquote, hear me? Okay, thank you so much, Casper. Shout out to Casper. Shout out to Jason. Thank you guys. I was making sure because I've been having some glitches. Shout out to Jason. Shout out to Child on Demand. Shout out to DJ Steady Will. Larry Fine says, great channel. Love it. Yes. Shout out to Melissa. Thank you guys for coming in. And before I end this live, I always end this live with reading positive notes. Positive notes. If you know, you know. Rule number 1, tell yourself, eliminate the if. Focus on the present. Rule number 2, focus on self, not others. Rule number 3, tell yourself, I will learn something new every day. Next rule, tell yourself, I will not get upset at what I don't have control of. And last but not least, advocate for yourself, because if you don't advocate for yourself, who will speak up for you? And that is what we do in this live. And I appreciate everybody that has came into this live in the chat that have spoken their voice. That is what this platform does every time, every live. As long as you do it what? Respectfully. Shout out to the Herbal Goddess. Shout out to everybody that has came into this live. I love you if nobody else tells you. And last but not least, always have a peace of mind and always be in peace. And last but not least, please replay this live to support and put your comments in the comment part after this live.